Good morning, students. I hope you are safe at home and I hope you are studying. In the previous classes, we have done till relative motion, rest, and arrest in motion and relative quantities. Now, we will start with distance and displacement. Now, we have also read scalars and vectors. Now, we will start with distance and displacement. That is the main part of the chapter, motion. And the first thing which comes to our mind is distance. So what is distance? It is nothing but the length of total path covered by an object. Or simply you can say total path length is called distance. Now, to be very precise, just take a simple example. I am traveling from point A to point B. The path from A to B is like zigzag. Okay, I am traveling in this direction. This is how I am. Now, somebody is asking me, what is the distance covered by you while moving from point A to point B? I will say the distance covered by me will be equal to the total path length that I am traveling in order to reach from point A to point B. Suppose the total path length is 100 meter, so my distance covered will be 100 meter. Is it clear? Again, example, simple one. Suppose this is point A, this is point B. I am going from point A to point B. मान लो इनके बीच का distance 5 meter है. So I am going from point A to point B, and after reaching point B, I am returning. I am turning back, and I am traversing my path back to A. That means I am moving back from B to A. So what is the total distance covered? 5 for going from A to B and 5 from returning from B to A. So 5 plus 5 total distance कितना आ गया? 10 meters. Clear है? One more example. Suppose I am moving on a circular track, and suppose R is the radius of the circle. R is the radius of the circle. Just suppose I am making one revolution. ठीक है? Now when I am moving on a circular track, in case of circular track, I am moving on the boundary of the circle. Boundary of the circle is called circumference, or length of the boundary of the circle is called circumference. So just suppose I am starting from point A and I have completed one revolution. One revolution matlab I have started from point A and have returned back to point A. That means distance covered by me will be equal to the circumference of the circle, because I am revolving on the boundary of the circumference. And what is circumference of the circle? 2 pi r. Okay, so this is how you can calculate distance in case of circular track. Suppose there are 2 revolutions, then the total distance covered will be 2 into 2 pi r. Suppose there are 3 revolutions, then the total distance will be 3 into 2 pi r. Suppose there are n revolution, where n is any number, any integer. Okay? So the total distance covered will be given by n into 2 pi r. So if you want to calculate the distance covered in case of circular motion, take the number of revolution, multiply it with the circumference of the circle, you will get the answer. जितने revolution हो रहा है उसको multiply कर दो इनसे and you will get the answer. I hope it is clear to you how to calculate distance. Take one more example. Suppose I am moving on the boundary of a square. I am starting from this point P. This is point P, and then I am coming back to point P. What is the total distance covered by me? A plus A plus A plus A. So total distance will be equal to 4A. So in case of distance, you have to do nothing. Only thing that you have to do is add all the path length that has been traveled by you. कभी भी subtract नहीं करना. Only you have to add. आँख बंद करके you can add it and you will get the answer. Suppose I am traveling half of the length of square. Half of the length matlab from P to this point and then to this point. In this case, what will be the distance? A plus A, 2A. Suppose I am traveling 3/4 length, matlab 3 parts. One part, second part, third part. A plus A plus A. What is the answer? 3A. And in case of a complete revolution, then what will be the answer? 4. So this is what distance is. You have to do nothing. You have to simply add all the path length. So total path length covered by an object is called distance. Again, SI unit of distance is what? Meter. The SI unit of distance is meter. And this is the internationally accepted unit. Okay. Now, see one more thing that we have seen. The distance is always added. Since we are adding it always, that means the result will be positive. So distance is always positive. It can never be negative. Whatever distance you are covering, and it is a scalar quantity, that is also one reason. Distance is always positive. What else? SI unit is meter. What else? It is a scalar quantity. One more point I have told you, I think in some classes. If the object has moved a little, if I am moving from this point to this point, if the object has done motion, that means distance can never be 0. Distance 0 kab hoga? Only in condition of rest. If I am standing here and I keep on standing and I am standing at this point forever, then distance covered by me will be 0. But if the object is moving, if it has moved, distance can never be 0. Is it clear? I hope the distance topic is clear to you. And do revise it and do remember the point. What are the points you have to remember? First thing is the definition. Second, the SI unit. Third, what type of quantity it is. Fourth, it is always added. Fifth, it cannot be 0. Sixth, it is always positive. So whenever you are framing your answer, write it in points. That is more easy. The teacher pays a greater attention when you're writing one point. Everything is clear to him, rather than when you're writing it completely in a paragraph. And that doesn't suit. So if this question is coming, do write it in point and mention all the points that you know. The more you write, the better it is. Okay. Now we will move to our next topic, that is displacement. Now see students, next topic is displacement. What is displacement? It is length of shortest path between initial position and final position of the object. And now what do you mean by the length of shortest path? For example, look over here. This is a point A, this is a point B. The path from A to B is again zigzag like this. I want to travel from point A to point B via this path. I am traveling via this path. Okay. So this length covered by me will be equal to the distance traveled by me. I have already told you distance is length of total or actual path covered by the object. Now if you talk of displacements, now somebody is saying calculate a displacement in this path. What is the definition? Length of shortest path between initial and final position. What is the initial position? A. What is the final position? B. Now if you talk about the shortest path between A and B, shortest path between any 2 points. So shortest path between any 2 points is given by a straight line. Whenever you want to find the shortest length or the shortest path between 2 points, don't do anything, just connect them by a straight line. So this straight line is the shortest path, and the length of this straight line will be termed as displacement. So when I am traveling from A to B via this path, which is a zigzag path, this length covered by me is the distance, whereas the shortest path between A and B, that is the length of this straight line, that will be my displacement. तो अब सिंपल भाषा में अगर आपको डिस्प्लेसमेंट निकालना है 2 पॉइंट के बीच में, कुछ मत करो, दोनों पॉइंट को स्ट्रेट लाइन से जोड़ दो. ओनली कनेक्ट बोथ द पॉइंट्स थ्रू अ स्ट्रेट line या by a straight line. Now one more thing, we have read that distance is a scalar and displacement is vector. मतलब distance has not got any fixed or particular direction, whereas displacement has a particular direction. अब देखो कैसे, when I'm traveling from A to B via the path, this zigzag path, तो क्या हो रहा है, ये आपके डायरेक्शन है नॉर्थ, साउथ, ईस्ट, what is happening, suppose यहाँ पे initially I am traveling north, फिर इधर I am traveling east, यहाँ पर I am traveling south east, again I am traveling south east, then I am traveling south. तो क्या हो रहा है, my direction is changing constantly with time, or you can say that my direction is not fixed, I am not having any fixed direction, वो लगातार change हो रहा है. That is why distance is a scalar quantity. But if I talk about displacement while traveling from A to B, अब देखो यहाँ पे, when I am traveling from A to B, I am moving only in one particular direction. That is this direction. Now this is which direction? East direction. Have I changed my direction? No, I haven't changed my direction at all. So that is what displacement is. Displacement is a vector quantity. Why? Because it has a constant direction. The direction never changes. Whereas in case of distance, the direction was constantly changing. So displacement is a vector quantity. Distance is a scalar quantity. Vector quantity matlab it has both magnitude and direction. Scalar means it has magnitude but no direction. Clear? Now next thing that we come again is displacement का again ऐसा unit is meter. It is a vector quantity. Now see, we have spoken in case of distance that if the object has moved, if I am moving, that means distance can never be zero. But the same thing doesn't happen in case of displacement. In case of displacement, there is a chance that if the object has moved, still displacement can be zero, है ना. In order to prove that, we will go to a very simple example that I will be telling you, है ना. You just look at that example. Now see, we will study that I have told you that distance can never be zero if the object has moved, but for displacement, if the object has moved, the displacement can be zero. Very simple example. Again, we are taking a circular track. I am starting from point A. The radius of the circle is r. If I am completing one revolution, what is the distance traveled by me? That is equal to 2 by r. Now, if somebody is asking what is your displacement, what is my displacement? Now, if you talk about displacement, what was the definition? It is shortest length between initial position and final position. Initial point A है, final point भी क्या है? A है. फिर से देखो, A से start किया और A पर ही finish कर दिया. तो initial point is A, final point is also A. अब तुम ये बताओ, तुमने जहाँ से शुरू किया था, तुम वहीं पे वापस आ गए. So this is the same point. Initial and final point are same. तो एक ही पाथ, एक ही पॉइंट की लेंथ क्या होगी? कुछ नहीं होगी. पॉइंट बहुत छोटा सा है ना, डॉट है सिंपल सा. तो इफ यू आर रिटर्निंग टू द सेम पॉइंट, या जब इनिशियल और फाइनल पॉइंट आर सेम, इन दैट केस आपका डिस्प्लेसमेंट क्या होगा? जीरो, बिकॉज एक ही पॉइंट मिल गया. अब एक पॉइंट में आप डिस्टेंस कहाँ से निकालोगे? नॉट पॉसिबल. यू कैन ओनली फाइंड डिस्टेंस इन बिटवीन टू पॉइंट that are far apart या that are some distance apart. बट अगर दोनों जुड़ जाएंगे, सेम हो गए, तो उनके बीच का डिस्टेंस क्या हो गया? जीरो. इसीलिए if the object is returning to its mean position, अगर ऑब्जेक्ट घूम भाग के वापस वहीं पे आ जाए जहाँ से उसने स्टार्ट किया था, तो in that case displacement is zero. And this is not only in case of circular motion. Suppose square field है. This is a square field ABCD. I am starting from point A and after some time I am returning back to point A. What is the distance covered by me? 4A. Suppose A is the side of square. What is the distance covered by me? 4A. And what is my displacement? 0. Why? Because I am returning back to my initial position. कोई भी एग्जाम्पल सिंपल सा भी, ये पाथ है, ये ऐसा शाम जैसा ये ए से मैंने स्टार्ट किया और घूमकर मैं वापस ए पर आ गया. क्या हुआ? इनिशियल फाइनल पॉइंट सेम, तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट क्या हो जाएगा? 0. बट क्या डिस्टेंस 0 है? नहीं, डिस्टेंस इज नॉट 0. सो डिस्टेंस कैन नेवर बी 0 व्हेन द ऑब्जेक्ट हैज मूव्ड, बट displacement can be 0. This is one thing, that displacement can be 0. ठीक है, तो ये ध्यान देना. एक क्वेश्चन दिया है एनसीईआरटी में भी, इट इज इन एनसीईआरटी इन द इंटेक्स क्वेश्चन आई थिंक, कि if the object has moved through a certain path length can displacement be 0? give example to support your answer. तो आपका आंसर क्या होगा? yes, if the object has moved through a certain path length the displacement can be 0. And you can give the example of a circular track, that when the object is moving in a circular track, then after one complete revolution it is returning back to its mean position and displacement is 0. Simple. Or you can give any other example. And you are taking one step forward and you are taking one step backward. You are returning back to your mean position. Displacement कितना हो गया? 0. But displacement distance is 2 steps. समझ गए? तो जब भी ऑब्जेक्ट घूम भाग के वापस जहाँ से शुरू किया था वहीं पे आ जाएगा, तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट क्या हो जाएगा? 0. एंड यू डोंट हैव टू प्रूव एनीथिंग. कभी भी ऐसा कोई क्वेश्चन आप सीधे आंसर 0 लिख देना. हाँ, रीजन पूछ ले बाई चांस, तब यू कैन राइट कि इनिशियल एंड फाइनल पोजिशन आर सेम, देयरफॉर डिस्प्लेसमेंट इज 0. Then you can give the reason, but उसमें कुछ प्रूफ करने की जरूरत नहीं कि और ये ऐसा गया. You can simply write the answer 0. Is it clear to you? Okay. Now we will move further. ठीक है? Now we will see what is the relationship between distance and displacement. Now see students, before defining the relationship between distance and displacement, we will look into one of the topics, that is linear motion. Linear means straight, motion means movement. So motion in a straight line is called linear motion. मतलब ये सीधा एकदम एक straight path में, neither you are going left nor you are going right, you are walking on a straight road that is very straight till infinity. बहुत सीधी है वो, आप सीधे सीधे चल रहे हो. That is linear motion. Now we are talking about relationship between distance and displacement. Just suppose object is traveling from A to B. Now this is a straight line. मतलब what kind of motion are we performing? Linear motion. Suppose distance between A and B is 5 meter. 5 meter का distance. अब क्या हुआ भाई? 5 मीटर का डिस्टेंस है, तो किसी ने मुझसे कहा कि I am traveling from A to B in this direction. What is the distance traveled by? इसने मुझसे पूछ लिया भैया A से B का आपका डिस्टेंस क्या था, तो मैंने बोला 5 मीटर. 5 मीटर is the answer. Now somebody is saying भैया you are traveling from A to B, what is your displacement? Again, when I am traveling from A to B, it is a linear motion, straight line. So in that case, again my displacement will also be what? 5 meter. सीधा ही जा रहे हैं ना अपन, स्ट्रेट लाइन मोशन कर रहे हैं. सिंपल सी बात है, मैंने एक कदम आगे लिया. सपोज मेरा एक स्टेप 1 मीटर का है, so I am taking 1 step forward. What is the distance? 1 meter. And suppose somebody is asking me what is your displacement? That is also 1 meter because it is a linear motion. So you can say that in case of linear motion, distance and displacement are equal, but इसमें भी there is a small glitch that you have to keep into mind. Suppose I have taken one step forward and then I have taken one step backward. मोशन तो लीनियर है, स्ट्रेट लाइन ही है, मैं टेढ़ा मेढ़ा नहीं जा रहा हूँ, मैं स्ट्रेट लाइन में या तो आगे जा रहा हूँ या तो पीछे आ रहा हूँ. इस केस में इफ आई एम टेकिंग वन स्टेप फॉरवर्ड एंड देन आई एम टेकिंग वन स्टेप बैकवर्ड, डिस्टेंस कितना हो गया 2 स्टेप, बट डिस्प्लेसमेंट कितना हो गया 0. यहाँ वो बराबर नहीं है, ये भी मोशन लीनियर है, एक कदम आगे और एक कदम पीछे. लीनियर मतलब स्ट्रेट लाइन होना चाहिए, तो आगे जाओ या तो पीछे जाओ, बस दाएं बाएं नहीं जाना चाहिए. यू डोंट हैव टू डांस और डू समथिंग. तो distance and displacement will be equal only when the object is performing linear motion in one particular direction. In one particular direction. तो कब इक्वल होंगे ये क्वेश्चन आता है 1 मार्क का. इन विच केस आर डिस्टेंस एंड डिस्प्लेसमेंट इक्वल. So they are equal in case of linear motion which is performed in one particular direction. क्योंकि अगर डायरेक्शन चेंज हो गया तो फिर दोनों इक्वल नहीं होंगे. अगर डायरेक्शन चेंज हुआ तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट हमेशा छोटा हो जाएगा डिस्टेंस से. अभी मैं आपको एग्जांपल से दिखाता हूँ हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल. ठीक है, तो रिमेंबर दिस थिंग, when distance and displacement are equal, they are equal only when the object performs linear motion in one particular direction. तो पहला रिलेशनशिप मुझे क्या मिल जाएगा, मुझे ये मिल गया, डिस्टेंस इज इक्वल टू डिस्प्लेसमेंट. सॉरी, डिस्प्लेसमेंट. एक मुझे ये रिलेशन मिल गया. अब सपोज इन दिस क्वेश्चन ओनली आई एम ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम ए टू बी. सपोज मेरा मन किया कि भाई बहुत आगे बी तक, फिर जिंदगी में पीछे भी जाता है ना, जिंदगी में आगे जाना वैसे अच्छी बात नहीं होती, थोड़ा पीछे भी मुड़ के देख लेना चाहिए. आई एम ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम ए टू बी एंड देन आई एम टर्निंग बैक, एंड फिर मैंने बैक मुड़ा और मैं सपोज यहाँ पे आ गया, चलते चलते बी से पॉइंट सी तक आ गया. सी पे आ गया, यहाँ पे रुक गया. बी से सी तक का मान लो जो दूरी था वो 2 मीटर था. अब किसी ने मुझसे पूछा भैया आपका डिस्टेंस कितना हुआ. सिंपल सा डिस्टेंस कैसे निकालना है, ऐड द लेंथ ए बी. पहले मैं ए से बी गया, ए से बी तक गया, फिर बी से सी आया. ए से बी का लेंथ कितना है 5, बी से सी तक का लेंथ कितना है 2, 5 + 2 कितना हो गया 7. सो डिस्टेंस कवर्ड बाय मी इज 7 मीटर. नाउ समबडी इज आस्किंग मी भैया मेरे व्हाट इज द डिस्प्लेसमेंट. अगेन आई हैव टोल्ड यू, डिस्प्लेसमेंट निकालते वक्त केवल इनिशियल पॉइंट देखना है और फाइनल पॉइंट देखना है, बाकी किसी पॉइंट से मतलब नहीं है. समझ गए. एट द एंड ऑफ योर लाइफ हाउ सक्सेसफुल आर यू, दैट मैटर्स. डजंट मैटर कि तुमने 10th में कितना स्कोर किया, 12th में कितना स्कोर किया, ग्रेड वाली में कितना स्कोर किया. सक्सेसफुल तभी दुनिया जानेगी. तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट वैसा ही है. यू हैव टू ओनली लुक एट द इनिशियल पॉइंट एंड द फाइनल पॉइंट. इनिशियल पॉइंट क्या है ए, फाइनल पॉइंट क्या है सी. ये लेंथ आपको निकालना है. टोटल लेंथ ए से बी तक का कितना है 5, बी से सी कितना है 2. तो ए सी किसके बराबर होगा, ए बी माइनस बी सी, दैट इज 5 - 2, दैट इज 3 मीटर. अब देखो लीनियर मोशन ये भी था, लेकिन यहाँ पे क्या हुआ, डायरेक्शन चेंज हो गया. द डायरेक्शन हैज चेंज. So when the direction will change, distance and displacement will not be equal. उनका breakup हो जाएगा. ध्यान रखो. When the direction has changed, distance and displacement will not be equal. In that case, distance हमेशा बड़ा होगा displacement से. समझ गए. तो finally, what relation can I deduce? ये बहुत important relation है, इसको रट लेना. Do mug up it. Distance is either greater than displacement. Is either greater than displacement or is equal to it. This is the sign of greater than or equal to. So पढ़ते हैं greater than or equal to. Greater than कब होगा, सिंपल एग्जांपल आप कोई भी दे सकते हो. सर्कुलर मोशन ही दे दो. सर्कुलर मोशन में 1 कंप्लीट रेवोल्यूशन में डिस्टेंस कितना है 2πr. डिस्प्लेसमेंट क्या है 0. तो ऑब्वियस है 2πr की वैल्यू 0 से तो ज़्यादा ही होगी ना. तो डिस्टेंस डिस्प्लेसमेंट से बड़ा हो गया. या फिर एक एग्जांपल दे दो, ए से बी गया, बी से सी वापस आया, डिस्टेंस हो गया 5 + 2 7 मीटर, डिस्प्लेसमेंट हो गया 3 मीटर। तो ये एग्जाम्पल हो गया। और बराबर कब होगा? व्हेन दे आर ट्रैवलिंग इन अ लीनियर मोशन या व्हेन दे आर ट्रैवलिंग इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन इन वन पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन। In that case, distance and displacement will be equal. So remember this relation: distance is either greater than displacement or distance is equal to displacement. अब एक क्वेश्चन सिंपल सा आ गया, ट्रू और फॉल्स का। कैन इज डिस्टेंस इज स्मॉलर देन डिस्प्लेसमेंट? आ गया, डिस्टेंस इज स्मॉलर देन डिस्प्लेसमेंट, ट्रू और फॉल्स? तो आपका आंसर क्या होगा? डिस्टेंस कभी भी डिस्प्लेसमेंट से छोटा नहीं होगा, या तो उससे बड़ा होगा या तो उसके बराबर होगा। बड़ा कब होगा? जब कोई भी मोशन हो, टेढ़ा मेढ़ा रास्ता हो, सर्कुलर मोशन हो, एक बार मैं आगे जाऊं फिर पीछे आ जाऊं। और बराबर कब होगा? व्हेन द ऑब्जेक्ट इज परफॉर्मिंग लीनियर मोशन इन वन पर्टिकुलर डायरेक्शन। आई होप इट इज क्लियर टू यू, डिस्टेंस एंड डिस्प्लेसमेंट। Okay, now we will move on to the numericals of distance and displacement.